Before I start talking about Rio 2, Rio 2 starts with Rio 1. About 6 years ago, I met Carlos Saldanha, the director, and he told me about the story. He's also from Rio de Janeiro, like I am. And I just liked him a lot and the story. I said, let's go. And so it's been 6 years since. And you know, everything starts with when you do music or bring music to a movie is the story that dictates what you're going to write, what you're going to compose, who you're going to bring to be part of it. And it happened in Rio, the first one, and Rio 2. The first one was about bringing the music of carnival music from Rio de Janeiro, which is something I'm very familiar. Carlos is very familiar with it. So we had a great time doing that. And then Rio 2 gave us the possibility to show the diversity of Brazilian music. The Birds, they start at New Year's Eve in Rio. Then they go to the Amazon, where they meet their family and so forth. So that gave us because Brazilian music, it's very diverse. A lot of people think that sometimes Brazilian music is mostly carnival music or maybe bossa nova. Of course, it is very important. But there are other rhythms from Brazil, from Bahia, from the Amazon, from Recife, wonderful rhythms that we're able to bring into Rio 2. And so that was the fun of this project. Rio 2, okay, now I suggested to Carlos we'd go. Carlos and John Powell, which is a very important person, part of this great team. You know, John is besides being an incredible musician, he has the knowledge of writing for soundtracks, and so I learned a lot with him. And so when we had our first meeting about a week later, I said, why don't we go down to Brazil? I would like to show you some other rhythms, some other things from Brazil. So they liked the idea, and Carlos and myself and John, and we went down to a place called Belo Horizonte, which is about an hour and a half from Rio de Janeiro, in the mountains. That has some very, very special kind of music. So there is Milton Nascimento, Wakti, so a wonderful, wonderful Toninho Horta. So it was a nice way to start the movie, listening to those wonderful rhythms and melodies and sounds. And then, of course, we start thinking about, okay, who else are we going to have in this movie? The opening scene, which is New Year's Eve in Rio, on the beach. Very, very important scene because the whole world gets there for New Year's. And so we thought about Janelle Monae, incredible singer and, you know, composer. So she wrote the opening theme that was so perfect for the movie because, you know, it brings the joy, the whole thing about that celebration of New Year. So it starts with the celebration of New Year's and ends with the celebration of family in the Amazon. So it's a very wonderful journey.